Thanks for tuning in to the Old Dirty Basement. On this week's episode, we're covering Ed Gingerich.
Yeah, it's Fast Eddie G, man. The guy was Amish. I wouldn't say serial killer, but committed a crime.
He sure as hell did. You know, for a guy that looks as innocent as Hans Klopek, he had some bad ways about him.
Yeah, absolutely. This was kind of a local story, Pennsylvania, so it was a cool one to cover.
Yeah, we like to shout out the PA.
Yeah.
Keep them close.
Yep. So if you're listening on Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you may be, hit that 5-star rating on Apple. Leave us a written review. It really helps us get discovered. And sit back, relax, and enjoy Ed Gingerich.
This is the Old Dirty Basement, home to debauchery, madness, murder, and mayhem. A terror-filled train ride deep into the depths of the devil's den.
With a little bit of humor.
History.
And copious consciousness.
I'm your announcer, Shallow Throat. Your hosts are Dave, Matt, and Zap. I love you, Matthew McConaughey. All right, all right, all right.
Hey, this is Dave.
Matt.
And Zap.
And welcome to the Old Dirty Basement,
Where every week we cover a true crime.
Murder.
Or compelling story.
So sit back.
Relax.
And comprehend.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Old Dirty Basement. I am Matt with Dave and Zap. How are you doing, fellas?
Oh, fantastic.
Good, man. Good.
Great.
And just another slice of heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, always nice to see everybody down here. What do we got for him today, Dave?
Yeah, so this is Ed Gingerich, the Amish killer. I heard about this before. I heard a podcast actually a long time ago, and I haven't seen much else done about it. So I thought it'd be a cool one to cover.
I hadn't heard anything about this guy, which is, surprising considering, anything that he had done that drew the attention of the media was done in Pennsylvania. I hadn't heard anything about this guy until you had mentioned it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Amish, they keep things pretty quiet. It was up in towards Erie too, right?
Towards Erie.
Not close. Like we're thinking like Lancaster. We probably would have heard something in the paper.
Fair.
And it's funny, I had to laugh because I went, obviously, I listen on Spotify, Apple. I listen to a lot of podcasts because we do one. I like to see what's out there. So I happened to go on Spotify and start typing in Ed Gingerich. I got to EDGING, and all these podcasts come up about edging. You guys know what edging is?
Are you talking about the thing you do with the trimmer on your grass?
No. This is like
You really never heard of edging?
edging.
No.
It's
I know that I edge my yard every week when I cut the grass. That's all I know about edging.
okay, but this would be
Or
more.
maybe some painting, some method of painting when the ceiling meets the wall.
Okay, edging is like a sexual term that I've heard before, and I did not realize there's like podcasts actually about edging. Imagine telling the story all the way up to the murder, but then not telling about the murder, almost telling you about it, but then taking you back to the beginning and then up to the murder.
It's not letting you fully
Not fully get there to
get the whole murder.
to the murder.
Oh, so edging is teasing.
Yeah.
Right.
But really, it's like, it's the teasing. It's just getting you up
Yeah.
there, and then,
And then
no, I'm going to pause for a second.
You
Right.
reel it back in.
Okay, we're going to get there.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to pause for a second.
So we're going to be mixed in with a lot of edging podcasts if they don't type the full name out.
That's
But
messed up, man.
yeah, it is, but
Well, I got into a whole thing looking this guy up to a ASMR. They had 2 episodes on these ladies, and I was watching it. My wife came down.
I think
What the fuck is an ASMR?
I don't know what it's short for. But
we're
it just
degenerates, man. We know this stuff.
It just says ASMR, and this lady's on it. She's like, Edward Gingerich.
Well, ASMR is really not that bad, actually.
It's not.
Wait, what was that sound effect?
They make sound effects, and they go like bubble, bubble, bubble.
It's real light talking, and
Edward Gingerich was a man.
it's a whole
He was an
nother
Amish
thing.
man.
So you're telling me at some point, either during or after this podcast, I need to use the old finger box and find out what
ASMR.
ASMR
Yes,
is.
Yeah.
yes. I don't know what it's short for. I'm sure people in the audience know that.
That'll
We
be-
could look it up, but that'll make it more fun.
Do
that
you
we
know
have
what it is,
somebody-
Dave?
I've heard the term and I've seen videos on YouTube. Like when you're searching something, ASMR is in the text with whatever you're looking for, and you'd be like, "What is that?" And it's just very light talking, kind of, almost like we were talking about, like with that, like a teasing, almost kind of like a light. I
Is
don't know.
ASMR sexual in nature?
It can be. Some people, I guess, are.
Is this what I get for not having kids, or is it because I don't look up degenerate videos on YouTube?
So
No, I mean, you could be looking up something totally innocent and it'll be in there. And ASMR, like I said,
it could be innocent. Yeah.
it's not bad. It's just that it's a light. Some people, I guess, have a fetish for light.
There's whole
talk.
podcasts on ASMR true crimes
Yeah.
involving murder of women, attractive women, talking very lightly and making weird. And then they'll play with their hair, like brush their hair into the microphone.
Yeah. I mean, it's time for that choo-choo train
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
sound
we're getting
effect.
back
I
on the
guess
track.
we're way off, but yeah, it's just a whole thing.
Or if you ASMR, it'd be like,
Right.
Jesus Christ.
Well, one other thing.
This is too much.
One other thing, I talk to listeners all the time. I mean, a lot of listeners, obviously, we know we have listeners all over the world, which is cool. But one of our listeners, Dan, mentioned he really enjoys the podcast, loves your guys' voice, loves listening to me talk. But he said he has a hard time hearing me sometimes over you guys. So I adjusted the levels here, and hopefully this sounds good. So, listener Dan, thanks for pointing that out. Young guy, he loves the show. A lot of the movies are on Vintage Cinema Review. He says, "Man, I go watch them because you guys talk about them."
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and
thank you, Dan.
He likes the true crime and everything else. But yeah, shout out to Dan. Hopefully this sounds better today. But yeah, this story, Ed Gingerich. How do you say it? Gingerich?
Gingerich.
Yeah, Ed Gingerich.
Which is quite a popular name around here in central Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I mean, not just amongst the Amish. I mean, it's around.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Funeral homes,
few
realtors.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
it's a decent name, man.
Is that like the Pennsylvania? How do you say that Dutchy? Is it like Gingerich or something?
I don't speak that filthy pig Latin. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I'm not
So
sure.
It's
like
all Greek to me.
Gingerich.
Yeah,
Because the RICH would be a Reich. Or I don't know. I'm not German.
Again, it's all Greek to me.
it is. Yeah.
But yes, Gingerich is a very, like you guys stated, very popular name around central PA.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, crazy story. I know Zach wrote up some stuff on it, so he's going to take us through the timeline here.
And I'm going to need both of your help.
Okay.
Both of yours, Ziz's help on the way through here. Because this guy had a hell of a story coming up, and I got to believe that you two got some nitty-gritty details to help get everybody through. So I'm looking forward to all of that.
Yeah, speaking of which, there's a very good documentary on ID Discovery. It's called Deadly Devotion, and it's ID Discovery Season 1, Episode 1, and it's all about this story. So it's like about an hour long, I think, maybe a little under an hour, and you can get that on your cable provider or whatever on demand.
Both of you guys consistently beat me to the punch with watching these movies. So one of the first ones you guys beat me to was Wuornos.
Mm-hmm.
Eileen Wuornos.
Oh, the monster.
Did you finally watch it? Did you
No,
watch Monster?
I haven't watched it. I've been too busy typing up stuff for the next podcast.
Right.
But in the meantime, here lo and behold, yet again, there's some kind of documentary on old crazy Eddie Gingerich that I had no idea existed, let alone did I know that he had existed. I mean, I got to salute you both. You have
Thank you.
quite a library of stuff you've seen.
Yeah, well, that was like, there was some stuff on YouTube, I think Matt said as well. I did read some articles and stuff online, but that was cool to watch and just see, some visuals with it. So check that out. If you're into the story, you might enjoy it as a listener listening to this, to put some visuals to it.
I'm looking forward to Willow tomorrow. For anyone listening.
Is that on Disney?
Yes.
And this is the series Willow.
Yes.
Shit, yeah.
What? Oh, Willow, they're remaking
It looks incredible.
They
I saw
remade
like a 5-minute preview of it.
I might actually subscribe to Disney just to be able
Just
to
for
watch
that.
it.
You really should.
Yeah, man.
Disney has some cool stuff.
Disney does.
If you want us to shout out to you, Disney, contact
Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah, I don't know if we
One
fit
of-
their criteria.
One of my favorite movies growing up, so.
Yeah, back to Eddie.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, train back on the track. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our delving into the trials and tribulations and mindset of one Edward Gingerich. So old Ed was born in 1966 in Norwich, Canada. He made his way to Rockdale Township, Crawford County, Pennsylvania, with his family. Ultimately, this guy would be convicted of manslaughter in the 1993 death of his wife, Katie. He was the first Amish person to be convicted of homicide.
We did talk about that earlier. We were trying to think if he was the first, and from everything I could read, he's not the first Amish to commit a murder per se, but this was the first
Convicted.
the first murder, correct? That was ever
To to clarify,
Yes.
my understanding, he was the first to be convicted of homicide in Englishman law. So they take care of their own. The Amish take care of their own.
Can the
They have their own tribunal. They have their own whatever, and everything revolves around religion, of course. So again, they absolutely take care of their own. Like, you're messing around on your wife, or, you're beating your kids, or you're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing. They take care of it in-house. This was the first one that bled out of the community.
that they called for.
Yeah.
They don't like getting the English involved,
Yes.
which they called the American people around them.
Basically, anybody non-Amish was English or is English.
Yes.
So question for you, maybe you guys would know or wouldn't know. I don't know. I don't know, so that's why I'm asking. If there was a murder or a crime committed in an Amish area, and the police do they drive through those areas? Is there investigate, like if there's somebody
like a
missing
beat?
or something like that, or they just kind of leave it alone? And
To my knowledge, only when called.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they
Only-
leave it alone.
And by when, I mean if. Like if in the way remote off chance that the English are called, sure, then they'll show up. In the meantime, nope. It's all Amish all day. Amish only.
Okay.
Like Zab was saying, I think it would have to be something huge as like where we're going on this story to have the English involved.
Okay.
Because they would just be like, we can deal with it ourselves.
Deal with it.
They got like a bishop and stuff. They're pretty into like that line, right?
Absolutely. So again, everything revolves around religion. 100%. This whole any Amish community is the core of it comes down to religion. They fix it themselves.
Yep.
So it was interesting to see a picture of this guy. I don't know if you two had ever heard. Again, coming up around here, of course, you're going to know a little bit about the Amish,
Yes.
and I on purpose call it Amish. By the way, I know it's Amish. To my knowledge, they're not supposed to be photographed. Like they avoid photographs. They don't take photographs because that's considered a graven image.
Mm-hmm.
So, which of course is a violation of basically the first commandment of the 10 commandments.
Right.
So, no photos, no nothing.
Do they do
of
pictures?
Amish. Not
Could they like paint a picture of
Paintings or
themselves?
whatever.
according to their religion, no graven images, which is whenever they see they don't want a picture of themselves because other people could look at that picture and in some way, shape, or form lose their focus on God.
Yeah, because that's their whole thing is like God for anything else is a distraction, right?
Yeah.
Right. And graven, is that like engraved? Is that like a play off of that? Like
No,
graven,
graven-
like etched in, or like what?
Yeah, so that's old biblical term.
Oh, okay.
That's I am the Lord your God. You shall have no other gods besides me. Graven is another word for idolatry.
Oh, graven is okay. I got you.
Right.
Something against God, putting something above God.
Something above God, something other than God to be worshipped, sought after, desired, admired, anything like that. God's got to be number one.
Okay.
Number one.
Yeah, and like Zap said, we live kind of in and around Amish country. Lancaster County's not far, so.
So I tell you all of that so because this guy was arrested, there's obviously a mugshot of this guy, and there have, reporters take pictures and stuff like that. Did either of you take a look at this guy?
I did.
Yeah.
The dude looks like Hans Klopek from
Yes,
the Burbs.
yes.
He does look Klopecky.
That's the first guy I thought of.
Yeah.
I thought of like a singer for like a older punk band.
Yeah, with the beard and
He got the
stuff.
funky beard, his
The
hair.
long hair.
But I mean, the guy had problems. Come on. He did look like an Amish guy that had some problems.
Mm-hmm.
So old Crazy Eddie,
Yes.
he had always been considered a rebel.
Would you say he's insane?
I'd say he is insane.
Okay.
I and other doctors and other researchers and
Look, Zach,
reporters.
I am not a scientist.
I'm no scientist, but they would say he's insane, and I would concur. So he was always considered a rebel. He looked more, at least in his earlier years before the bad things start. Before he got the bad. He always looked outside of the Amish way of life from an early age. Again, he always seemed more interested in the English way.
Yeah, he had a lot of English friends, which most of them kind of stay away. He was into auto mechanics, I think, a master mechanic. Are we there yet?
Not even close. Dude's still a kid.
Okay, he's a
Oh,
kid.
okay.
Oh, okay.
He's a kid, but
He's a kid.
kids get in the Amish way. they grow up hard, they grow up fast. So eventually, as he's growing up and he's learning his trade and he's, becoming a skilled craftsman,
woodworking he was into as
huge
a kid.
into woodworking. Also consistently fascinated with machinery.
Yes, he was young into like taking things apart, putting them together. He was a regular boy doing his thing in the English Amish way.
I don't know if you have anything in there about his personality.
Dude, go for it.
So I read that he was kind of like a prankster.
Oh,
like for the Amish, like
did he pull a Dahmer?
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Part of the triangle,
because they were talking about that he was kind of like you said, kids are very serious. They don't really have time to have fun and do, not to say they do fun things, I'm sure, but
they might throw a ball back and forth, but otherwise they're working.
Right.
These kids are working.
On Sundays, I think if you see driving through Lancaster, you see them playing like volleyball. They play a lot, kickball.
Right.
Yeah, they have like their day of play is Sunday, but everything else is work through the week, I believe.
All work.
Yeah, he was more of they said like a jokester and prank, like kind of a little more loose than the other kids. But yeah.
All work, no play. Make Ed
A dull boy.
Very dull boy.
Well, not surprisingly, he was the son of a minister.
Aren't they
and
all?
he ended up marrying his clan's bishop's niece. So in any Amish community, you're going to have the one head dude, and that's going to be the bishop. I mean, what the bishop says, that's what happens.
Right.
So he ended up marrying the bishop's niece, Katie. The marriage happened while they were in their late 20s, which is shockingly old for
Yes, very late for
for the
because
Amish.
they want to start having kids at like 19 because you need 12 or 13 of them.
At least. You got to think about the number of years that the womb is available to give offspring.
Right. And in that documentary I watched, they were saying that she was a little nervous because her younger sister was getting married or looking to get married, and there was some pressure or whatever.
That's absolutely true. Crazy Eddie was the next in line in his family to be married, and so he had the pressure. And as you had said, Dave, Katie felt this was basically her last chance to get married. Again, because her younger sister was already a step ahead.
Well, Matt and I were talking before you got here about and like in a community like that, when you're talking about small numbers and stuff, like I guess there's somebody for everybody almost. I mean, if the numbers come out right?
There's a lid for every pot.
Right.
If you're not cousins.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Or if you are. And I don't want to flash forward too much, but that particular topic might come up again.
Going into relation station.
Little foreshadow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, because you got Slim Pickens there, I guess.
ABSM. What's it called?
ASMR.
ASMR.
But what Dave was saying earlier is, like if there's like 20 kids in your class.
Yeah, and there's like
six hot girls, like,
you got really good odds.
Yeah, you got good odds, man. Odds are in your favor.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, you want to watch me whittle?
Yeah.
She'd be like, hell yeah.
You got no competition.
Man, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go play some volleyball Sunday.
I'll whittle the shit out of that stick. So, yeah, with all of this, again, as Ed had grown up, again, leaning toward the Englishman tendencies, this was his family's hope for him, that he would have, basically marry a good, faithful woman who would ultimately, be a good influence on him.
Him going into marriage like this, did they mention anything? I didn't read anything about like the Rumspringa. Did he have that as like a youth, as a teen? Because
I didn't read anything about that either, but I know that he, like Zap said, like he would have been a candidate for that. It seems like he wanted out.
For sure.
He would have swayed the way of the English, it seems like, because all the stuff that he was into was that was all there for him. So I didn't know. I didn't read anything. I would have thought that'd be interesting.
And could we just delve ever so slightly to the left or right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
This is for the folks out there who aren't necessarily from central Pennsylvania and don't know what the hell a Rumspringa is. If I that's Rump Shaker.
Oh,
so this is the
shake your rum.
That's the wrong. Okay,
this is basically the days long bachelor party that the guy gets to do. It's like he just gets to go out and let his wiggles out. He gets to go, if I understand correctly, go outside of the Amish way. Basically, break away from being Amish for a second.
It's free to go out, do what you want to do. Pretty much anything.
It's boys and girls.
Boys
right?
and girls.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're allowed to, I guess, sow your wild oats.
Touch private parts.
Yes.
Right.
Wear like jeans.
Yeah.
T-shirts.
Sunglasses. Take photos.
Yes.
Get a haircut.
What a culture shock, though. If you go from that's all you've known. I wonder how aware they are of like outside.
They have to be aware, like in today's world.
They're for damn sure made aware, and at the same time, they're made aware of it by virtue of look, man, anything outside of this religion, outside of our little community, is a sin. They're all sinners. Everybody out there is a sinner. There is one way to get into heaven. So, all right, everyone alive here in the Amish community, there is one goal. The goal is to get to heaven. Mm-hmm. The only way you can get to heaven is for damn sure be faithful to God, follow the religion, and work your ass off. Like, you got to work hard. That's basically the two tenets to that religion: faith and hard work.
Right. I'll tell you. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't have
no,
was that you?
I was clearing something, whatever hell was that.
I thought Matt was saying something. No, I tell you a good depiction of this is I watched Banshee. You ever see that?
Nope. Great show.
It's a joke because it's like way off. It deals with people leaving the Amish faith basically to.
Isn't he like an assassin or something?
Yeah, Kai Proctor, like the main guy. It's just off the wall. Like the way they depict everything.
This is a comedy, or is this an actual dramatic?
Like a drama.
This is like an action show, like on Cinemax.
Is it
It's older. It's probably like 10 years old now.
Yeah, it's a great show.
Is it biographical?
No.
So it's just stories.
It's just stories, but they actually have. It takes place in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and it's about basically this guy gets out of prison, or does he escape prison? I forget.
Escaped, I think.
Yeah, and he takes the identity of this police. This guy's going to become sheriff of this Lancaster County town. He gets killed, and he somehow gets his identity and takes over, becomes a sheriff of this town. Well, meanwhile, there's like Amish mafia and stuff going on. It's crazy, and it's just like
Banshee.
Okay, it's definitely a guilty pleasure to watch. But they actually have a scene where they rob a bank in Harrisburg, which is where we're from, and it's not Harrisburg at all.
Not at all.
No. Definitely not at all.
Backlot in California.
It looks like a huge city, and it's like that's not Harrisburg.
That's not Harrisburg,
right?
I gotta. I'm sorry, I gotta take this train off the track really quickly. So, over the Thanksgiving weekend, as it were, I took twice. I watched Lucky Numbers.
Oh yes,
what a fun, simple, easy.
I love that movie.
It's great.
Harrisburg's finest
Travolta?
bistro, right?
Correct, Travolta.
Harrisburg's finest bistro.
Absolutely.
Denny's, right?
Yeah, Denny's.
Yeah. And that was filmed off of, what was that place in Eisenhower? The motel that it was filmed in.
Well, they filmed, it was in and around. They filmed parts
not Eisenhower. It was off
Carlisle
of
Pike. That's where they filmed the
I don't think it was
Denny's.
Carlisle Pike.
So the Denny's was on Carlisle Pike.
Mm-hmm.
The hotel I thought was somewhere near
High Spire.
I thought. No! You're talking about the Hollywood Motel.
The Hollywood Motel,
which is in fact right next to the High Spire Graveyard, which is
the graveyard,
which is very near the Turnpike Pennsylvania Turnpike Administrative Building.
There's a gun club back there also.
They filmed. You're right. They did film that there.
At the Hollywood.
Yes.
And I think Travolta made some sort of quote like it's an interesting place. Central PA.
It's something. Again, I'm sorry. I had to divert off of that one.
No, people enjoy it.
Talking about Harrisburg.
People enjoy it. So I mean, hey,
the scene on the bridge going across was that 81, 83. That's pretty cool.
I know they crossed the Harvey Taylor Bridge, or at least they filmed the Harvey Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so much stuff on there that you see if you're local.
We'll have to do a review on that. Just bring it back to the home.
I'd be all for that.
Yeah, I would love to. I have that movie. I love that movie.
Cool.
Because they filmed it here. I thought it was cool. But.
Hell yeah. In the meantime, folks, don't sleep on that. Watch Lucky Numbers, starring John Travolta.
Okay, back to Big Eddie style.
So, fun fact, as we're talking about him getting married, Ed Gingerich getting married, the Amish don't give, the husbands don't give the wives diamonds. They give them
wrenches.
Like wrenches. No, so engagement rings, stuff like that. No engagement ring with a dime in it. They instead give their wives like the equivalent of like fine china or a clock.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
that's the engagement present.
That's so they know when it's time for dinner.
Yeah. So here's plates onto which you can plate food, and here's a clock to make sure that you're on time to put food on the plate.
That's basically it.
Yeah. Additional fun fact. Amish couples spend their first wedded night at the bride's parents' house because that's where the reception happens.
Oh, wow.
So when Amish couples get married, the reception is at the bride's parents' house, and the wedded couple spend their first night there because they are the ones that have to clean the house the next day after the party.
Right. So no action probably happening.
I mean, no.
Well, you have to. I mean, that's like bad luck. But then they got to do their job the next morning.
I don't know if they believe in luck.
Yeah,
That's true.
Luck is a sin.
Yeah.
That's interesting though that they do. That they stay there, but hey, they have their things they do. That's just crazy.
Yeah, that's their style.
Yeah.
You can't really get mad at it.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know how busy you can get, with parents around, but
I'm sure they're
I don't
not
know how big these houses are.
knocking the boots.
Are they pretty decent sized houses?
It's all what they build.
Yeah.
I mean, if they wanted to get fancy and crazy, they can get as fancy and crazy as they want. But
Right.
yet there's that borderline like, hey, man, I can't go building if I'm the local craftsman, if I'm the local woodworking man, I can't go building myself a mansion and leave everybody else to live in squalor or little, single family, 1 level, 2-bedroom huts.
Mm-hmm. Well, they build some fat houses around here. I've seen.
They do.
Yeah.
And they all work together.
Yep.
No, the Amish, and they're not taxed for any of that either.
Nope.
I think we're thinking Mennonite. Is that the Amish?
Well, Mennonite is like
the Mennonite can
they're
make,
more liberal.
Yeah, they can drive cars and stuff.
Yep. They have.
But the Amish, I don't think can. I think the ones that we see
Amish
working
can't
are
do any of
Mennonite.
that. Yeah, Mennonite. They have computers. They said like limited. They can use some stuff, but not Amish cannot use any of that.
But see that I was confused on that too with this guy, with him getting into like with the English. So I mean, I'm sure he was making like English dollars.
They're definitely earning and spending U.S. dollars for damn sure. Like there's no other Amish or Mennonite currency. I don't know. From what I gather,
Yeah, because they sell tobacco to the English. They sell woodworking traits.
Of course. I mean, you see it. They the candles and you eat anything. Amish crafts
Go
like
through
you would set,
Lancaster.
all kinds. Yeah, please. You'll see it all for sale. Allegedly, from what I hear, Amish women, if they ever leave the clan, they tend to go into professional hockey. That way,
For real?
Yeah, they get to sleep with 10 Mennonite.
That's a good one.
Cha-ching.
On September 20th, 1987, Ed and Katie had their first child, a son. It didn't take long for Crazy Ed to realize how much work it takes to be a parent. In fact, he hated it. He absolutely hated it. He would often stay late at work.
Yeah, he wouldn't come home. Wife be dressed in like her favorite black gown.
He came and went as he pleased. Purple silky.
Yeah, he didn't want the sex in.
Yeah, so basically, like his wood shop might close at like 4 or 5 in the afternoon or whatever. Everybody goes home and goes to dinner. This dude didn't show up until like 11 o'clock midnight, like whenever, or if he showed up. By July of 1988, he was noticeably losing weight and complained of dizzy spells. He ended up seeking the aid of Dr. Merritt W. Terrell. Now, the Amish folk loved this doctor for his non-scientific methods, and they considered him to be a healer. So his non-scientific methods is basically anything that's not modern medicine, world, global, whatever the hell kind of understood, recognized medicine.
Just tell him what he fed him, Zap. What do you give him?
We'll get there. Get there. So while the Amish love this guy, the English, which is anyone who is not Amish, again, basically wrote this guy off as a snake oil salesman.
Yeah, he was a crack.
So at Crazy Eddie's first visit to this doctor, the doctor's receptionist hands Ed a slip of paper. And on this piece of paper, Ed was to write his name, date of birth, address, and symptoms. After he fills out that information on the slip of paper, Doc Terrell appears like the Wizard of Oz from behind a curtain and takes Ed's slip of paper and puts it into a small machine that was basically the size of a fax machine, right? Okay. So if everybody's putting those things, so he takes this little handwritten bit of paper.
That's kind of like where yogurt pops out of.
Just like yogurt.
Yeah. People are like, what?
This
it's a movie.
Yogurt, the dude, not the edible.
Not the edible, yeah.
So this machine was somehow supposed to determine Ed's illness by scanning his handwriting. That's what old yep. Just like that.
Yes.
That's what Dr. Terrell had said. So after the paper was fed through the machine, a series of numbers and codes popped up, and that would give Dr. Terrell the ability to interpret and diagnose the treatment. So it's basically like, all right, so number this on this and 1 to 10 on this, 1 to 10 on that, whatever on this, that, and the other thing. I can magically determine what's wrong with you.
That's incredible.
That is.
So
modern medicine.
Again, so Ed he's complaining, so he's losing weight like crazy, and he's already complaining of like constant, consistent dizzy spells.
Yeah, headaches, dizzy spells, fever, sweats. Guy had it bad.
So in this case, the machine revealed that he needed a toe pulling and a foot rub.
Oh. That'll help, right?
I think Dr. L had a foot fetish.
Maybe.
From what he liked rubbing the feet down.
Was he a chiropractor or just like a?
No,
He's a snake oil salesman.
Like a. Okay.
He's got this stupid ass machine that you fill out a piece of paper and it's going to tell you what you need.
Right.
The next guy comes in, he's going to say, "Oh, you need a finger pull and to crack your knuckles."
Right.
Who knows? Just like that.
Yes.
So
I feel
anyway,
so much better.
Crazy Eddie pays his $25 for the visit. He receives a jar of molasses that's supposed to purify his blood,
Heals what ails you.
and he's sent on his way, allegedly cured.
Yeah.
Now, see, this guy's brilliant for moving into this area where you have the Amish.
Oh my God!
Because he's like, I don't need to pay for much. Let me
No.
get a couple things of molasses that I have a couple molasses trees, and let me give you a foot rub. He had a foot fetish, probably something with rubbing people down.
Mm-hmm.
The dude was making bank,
They weren't
taking
ordinary-
advantage of the Amish.
They weren't ordinary molasses. They were blackstrap molasses. So you know the difference.
No, I do not.
So basically, like molasses are basically boiled down sugar, like the remnants is left over, and blackstrap molasses is that process, I guess, 2 or 3 more times over. So it's extra dense and thick and everything else, but it's also very nutrient dense. They said it has like there's a lot of iron in it, so it works good for anemia and different things. It does have some health benefits, but I don't think it was going to help what he had going on. You know what I mean? But,
Definitely a toe cracking would help, though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That could have helped.
Yeah.
But no.
No.
But the blackstrap molasses, that was like, one of the fun facts that I read about it.
Blackstrap molasses.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
I just think of grandparents saying, "Oh, just you got a cut or a bruise. Oh, just put some salve on it and you'll be fine."
It'll be fine.
Mercurochrome.
Mercurochrome. The Greeks in my big fat Greek bitch.
The wedding thing.
they spray Windex on everything. No. Put Windex on it. It'll work.
It'll fix it.
It'll fix it.
Epsom salts also. That was a good, if you like had a ankle sprain. Or
sore.
you hurt, sore feet, Epsom salts.
Soak in it. Well, I remember doing that, like as a kid and stuff. Like
My grandparents used to have it. Looked like it was a milk jug,
Mm-hmm.
and you just pour the
Dump it
Epsom
out.
salts.
Put
and
it
it'll
in
go-
the bath.
Yeah, it would sizzle like
Mm-hmm.
almost like Alka-Seltzer, but
Whoa.
for your feet.
Well, hey, who's to say?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I do know is that this guy would later be diagnosed by quote unquote real doctors,
Mm-hmm.
the doctors we all know and love, with paranoid schizophrenia and bipolarism.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, you're not going to fix that with blackstrap molasses and a
No.
toe pull.
I think he needed some sort of drugs.
A toe pulling, I should say.
Right.
Anyway, he kept up with his visits to Doc Terrell with no signs of cure.
Even after the diagnosis of the schizophrenia, he was still going there.
The Doc Terrell does not know what schizophrenia is.
Okay.
He doesn't know what bipolarism is.
Right.
He knows that he has these poor conned people come into his place, give him $25, write their name and address and whatever on a little bit of paper,
And feed it in a machine.
feed it in the machine, which is interesting considering that the Amish try to stay away from machinery,
Right.
especially like technology,
Mm-hmm.
like something similar to a fax machine that spits out numbers in some kind of digital fashion.
And this shit's way advanced if it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
We're
man.
talking- Yeah.
But Edward Gingerich also, he liked the English way. He was very into, I don't know if he got into that with the automobiles. He was an expert. What is that? A machinist.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he dug that it had like that fax machine type thing.
Yeah.
Maybe he was like, this is the way that I'll know what's wrong with me.
This is the future.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he was into that.
About a year and a half later, on March 21st, 1989, Katie gave birth to their second son, Enos. Alas, on December 3rd, 1989, old Ed's wood mill burned down, and Ed was pissed. Like this, I mean, so this is December 1989. He's pissed.
And when did he have Enos?
9 months, almost 9 months earlier, on March 21st.
So a penis went in and Enos came out.
There you go.
Yeah.
How about that? She kept the pee.
Yeah.
So understand that this guy, again, all he wants to do is get the hell out of
He
his
just
house,
wants to woodwork,
get the hell away from these kids.
but she trapped him.
Yeah, I mean, and so that's really it. This guy wants to get the hell away from these kids. So it's winter, there's snow, it's cold. Nobody's building shit when the ground's frozen. And this wood mill of his, this was his only refuge away
escape.
from these kids.
Was that like a bad thing with the Amish community when the wife's like, oh, he's in the wood shop all night? He never comes
Like, what do you
home.
bitch about? Yeah. If you're
Yeah.
a Amish wife.
He's out
you know?
making stuff. He just built like three
Yeah.
beds.
You wonder if they get together with
3 beds.
He's not out there. We got like 8. Like you go around their house, you can't get through.
Yeah.
He's always doing his building stuff.
He's just constantly building stuff out of wood.
Yeah, there's like 9 tables in his living room. She's like, he builds these every night. He never comes in.
Yeah. Well, they don't drink, right? They don't.
They're not supposed to. No,
Man, no. Those spirits
That's
are the
devil
devil.
stuff.
Devil stuff. So there's really not much you can get in trouble with. Not like you're at the bar.
That's what I'm saying.
Out,
like, is that like being at the bar? He's out at the wood shop again.
Right. They're not podcasting.
Yeah.
Nope.
That'd be a good podcast.
It would.
Amish podcast.
Yeah, but they're doing it with like soup cans and string.
Yeah, you're right. No technology.
Like the coconut internet.
He's like, let's talk about my horse. He got the gout again.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if horses get gout.
I don't know.
It'd be funny.
Well, so for a guy that doesn't, or for a guy that gets bent about, kids and having to deal with kids, not but 3 months later, on March 13th, 1990, Katie gave birth to their daughter, Mary.
So that's 3 now.
3 kids.
Okay.
Mill is still burned down. We're still in the dead of winter. Mill burned down in December of 89. Kid number 3 pops out of March of 90.
He don't like the kids, but he's just getting real bored in the
I
winter
guess he for damn sure doesn't have the mill to go to.
No,
But it's not surprisingly, Crazy Eddie could not care less about the birth of his daughter. He was way too focused on rebuilding that sawmill. Way too focused. Again, his only refuge away from these goddamn kids. So construction of the new mill began in April of 1990 and, not surprisingly, finished in record time. So Ed finally had purpose again. And by purpose, a reason to get the hell out of the house.
Right.
So he spent a lot of time in this wood shop. And as Matt had alluded, a machine shop that he had built. So machining, I'm thinking machining is where you're taking... machining isn't necessarily engines and stuff like that. Machining is where you're taking metal and you're fabricating it into something else.
No, he was a machinist, but they also considered him a master mechanic. With
that makes sense. He was
with engines.
Yeah, that's right. He was damn good on the diesel engines.
Yes, diesel engines. He was really good on.
Because they're allowed to use stuff with engines, right? If it's from fuel, like using gasoline or like you said, diesel, because it's from the earth or whatever.
That's right. So they're using petroleum distillate in that.
Yes.
Versus that voodoo, that witchcraft electricity.
Right.
For damn sure, stay away from that.
Mm-hmm.
So after his new shop is built, he meets this dude by the name of Dave Lindsay. Dave Lindsay is a born-again Christian.
He's trying to convert him, isn't he?
Eventually. Now, it's interesting. So, I mean, so let's say we're Catholic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're baptized by water. A born-again Christian who may have been baptized by water, they're actually, in this belief, they're baptized.
Diesel fuel.
No, close.
Oh.
The Holy Spirit.
Oh.
So they're...
Is that where you start dancing and singing and dancing and spiriting and speaking in tongues?
Possible.
Cool.
But essentially, in a born-again Christian, you are born again by virtue of the Holy Spirit. So it's a spiritual and an able decision by the person to have that oneness with Christ. So as Matt, I think, had alluded, possibly you, though, Dave, Amish bishops absolutely hate born-again Christians. Can't stand them. They consider them to be religious fanatics. And
that's funny.
Well, they believe them to be religious fanatics because it's against their religion. So let's harken back to what we had mentioned. So the Amish religion, you got 2 things to get your way to heaven. 1, absolute faith, trust, belief, devotion to Christ. 2, work hard. Work, just work. Versus the born-again Christian who's basically, well, faith alone will guarantee my place in heaven.
Aren't the born-agains, aren't they more like the literal Bible? Like
They're certainly evangelical.
Yeah.
But not all evangelicals are born-again Christians.
Okay.
I remember reading that now I guess there's different Amish faith-wise, there's different sections of it or whatever, but they were of the most conservative, most like aggressive,
Orthodox?
of the Amish faith. And that in the Amish faith, the gods looked at as more of like I don't want to say vengeful, but kind of like if you do wrong, like, I'm going to strike you down and that type stuff versus like God, like can Catholic religion and different stuff is forgiving. And
so it's Old Testament versus New Testament. So
is that the difference?
Yeah, Old Testament is punishing God.
Mm-hmm.
New Testament is, oh, everything's happy. Jesus is here. Jesus will forgive you. Oh, it's okay. Jesus will make it better. Jesus is okay.
Mm-hmm.
I like the older version because
Right.
you know, it keeps you on
in
your
line,
yeah,
yeah.
it keeps you in line.
Mm.
Yeah,
But
you
now-
can't just say you're sorry and everything's cool.
It's true. Now, equally though, born again Christians are not fans of the Amish either. So it's like one hates one, and then they equally dislike the other.
Each other, yeah.
They equal. That's it. They equally dislike each other. First and foremost, I guess to Matt's point, born again Christians consider the Amish faith to be a cult,
Mm-hmm.
but they also dislike the Amish because the Amish are such a challenge. So born again Christian, think of like Mormons, right? Or think of something like that where the people are knocking on your door trying to convert you, right? They don't care what religion you are, they want to convert you to this religion.
Mm-hmm.
Does not work with the Amish. And try as much as they do, it's virtually impossible to convert the Amish, but that doesn't stop them. So they keep trying. And they keep
trying to get them, yeah.
Right. So again, the second reason that they don't like them per se is because they're just so damn hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I should say so damn difficult to convert to born again Christianity.
I got you.
Anyway, this guy, not surprisingly, this Dave Lindsay guy was persistent. I mean, absolutely persistent. So he would come by the mill regularly to visit with old Crazy Eddie, old Ed Gingerich here.
Mm-hmm.
And after a number of encounters and visits, Dave Lindsay had finally convinced him that his soul was in jeopardy and he needed to renounce his Amish faith.
Mm.
So,
Sure, his family didn't take that well.
probably not, and neither did the locals. Neither did anyone in his community.
Mm-mm.
So, reminder, back to the paranoid schizophrenia and bipolarism. So, on March 24th, 1922,
Or not
1922.
on March 24th, 1992,
It's like a hot tub time machine.
it was a hot tub time machine. March 24th, 1992, Crazy Eddie had himself a bad episode. This was actually a continuation from a similar episode he had the day before. So on March 24th, 1992, he was just laying in bed, spitting up at the ceiling.
Mhm.
Yes.
He started hooting and hollering, howling like a dog.
But the thing is, from what I gather, he was spitting at the ceiling and then trying to decipher what his
But he spit.
spit read. Like he's spitting hieroglyphics onto the ceiling and trying to read
Okay.
it.
That's wild.
This guy was a paranoid schizophrenic.
Yeah.
though.
Indeed. So
So what he was doing is like completely out there, but to him, he was actually trying to probably read or decipher what he was spitting.
Yeah,
as
he's
that
not
was
even
absent.
there. Probably.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's so far gone.
he's way gone. So
Was he on drugs at this point?
Not
Was
yet.
he taking?
No.
Okay,
Not yet.
okay.
That's what I was wondering.
we're getting there. He's still on molasses, man.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Some black strap.
He's
Yeah.
hopped up on blackstrap.
Man, I'm so on black strap.
Needs a fix. Get that black strap off my back.
He's mainlining black strap.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is the part where we had talked about before, where they typically police their own. People are getting scared and afraid of this guy, like they think he's possessed. So the locals ended up calling 911. When the paramedics arrived, Crazy Eddie screamed, "Don't kill me!" This is at the point now where he starts lashing out, running all over the place like a madman, and he was tackled and restrained by his brothers.
It took like 7 people to hold him down.
He looked like a big guy from the picture.
Yeah,
so
he did. Look like a
decent-sized
really,
guy.
really big guy.
Yeah.
We're getting there. So as
Plus, all these guys do is work with like hay and animals.
So they're
and-
strong, yeah.
I
they're
could
pretty
tell you,
strong.
man,
strong cats.
I could tell you stories about some strong cats. Give me a second. I'm going to tell you some stories about some strong cats.
They can like raise barns in like a day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
crazy.
about a day. It seems
Well, no, like they raise the put them up. They don't actually build them. They
Right.
raise them.
Push him up.
Yeah, I seen it.
Mm-hmm.
It's in Lancaster.
I read about it in a book about it. So as Ed is being escorted out of the house by the paramedics, he looks over at his wife and he smiles at her mockingly. Like basically like, yeah, this is my chance to get the hell out of this house.
I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. I'm going to good English modern medicine. I'm just going to go hang out in the hospital. They got televisions there.
Mhm.
They got running water. They got all this crazy, amazing stuff there. I'm getting the hell out of here. So she punches him in the face.
Oh, she punched him.
She punches him in the face and knocks him down
While he's leaving.
on his while he's leaving. Now enter the 7 dudes you were talking about. This is the part where it took 7 dudes to restrain this guy again, from now, trying to hit his wife back because, she punched him in the face.
Yeah.
So it took 7 dudes to restrain this guy and eventually get him strapped into the gurney that'll go into the ambulance.
When you're strapped in, they were like using like seatbelt buckles and pulling them tight. Yeah.
This guy's like Michael Myers and shit.
For real. Ultimately, this guy had been hallucinating, and he couldn't tell what was real or not. He tried to fool the doctor. Now fast forward. He makes his way to the hospital.
Mm-hmm. This is in Erie, right?
Yeah, and it was either Erie or New York.
Okay,
but they're pretty damn close to one another. So he was trying to fool the doctor at the hospital, like, "Hey man, I'm fine, everything's okay." But he couldn't fool him for long. Like his craziness kicked right back in. Mm-hmm. So think about it. Like he takes a nap in the ambulance or he does whatever and he gets up there and everything's all calm. Mm-hmm. So as he's talking to the doctor, I don't know why I'm here. These people maybe they just don't like me. Nobody likes me.
Right.
But it didn't take long once he's awake again for his craziness to kick back in. And at this point, now, as Matt had alluded, he was ultimately put on antipsychotic and antidepressant medications.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at this point, when he was going on that in the hospital, was this already where he thought like his wife was the devil? Did that Lindsay guy change him already?
I think that was probably all kind of starting then.
It's starting.
It's starting. Okay.
It's starting.
Okay.
Matt is exceptionally great at
foreshadowing.
where Matt reads, despite having pages of things in a timeline, Matt gets to my 4th page and asks questions about it.
Sorry about that. Because in my mind, I'm trying to think where we're at. I'm thinking.
Yeah. I would think that's like the genesis of it, where it all kind of started when that guy got into his head about like, you're going to hell if you're not safe. Like he's looking around for where's Satan at. You know what I mean?
Where's Satan?
No, that's exactly
where you at?
So Dave is exactly right. This is, in fact, since we mentioned Old Testament, this is in fact the genesis of this guy's downfall.
Chapter 2.
Chapter 2.
24 through 27.
This guy is on his way to craziness, but this will all come pieced together in the end. But I mean, really, you have on one side, this guy alluding like, dude, man, you should change your religion, man. Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, he's having some serious physical and mental problems with himself.
And he's trying to figure out where it's coming from.
Yeah. Oh, on the topic of strong Amish dudes. Mm-hmm. So during the quarantine or the whatever it was when COVID. Thank you. During the COVID, when 2x4s were like $10 a piece. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you knew that, but like
house building material,
$10. I'm sorry, 2x4s were ridiculously expensive. Building materials as a whole were just ridiculously expensive. A buddy of mine was doing work around his house, and he needed lumber, and he needed it fast, and he needed a lot of it. So he started shopping around outside of the big box stores, outside of local lumber yards. And he made his way up to, essentially, there's an area, it's between Lewistown, Pennsylvania, and State College, Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. If you ever drive up there, it's near a Harley-Davidson dealership that's up there. Again, this is for anybody that's driven up to a Penn State game from Harrisburg, and you're going to make your way up there. You're going to see it. Anyway, in this
area,
on
the upper level, it's on the left-hand side, right by the river there, or the creek. What is that running through there? A creek, right?
A river runs through it?
No, it's a creek. But yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Like up, because you're up on that top part. You look down.
Yes, that's correct. But you're looking, depending on which way you're going. Yeah, we're probably talking about
heading up to State College. It's on. Yeah, it's I don't know if it's a Harley dealer. Isn't it like just a regular motorcycle place?
It is a Harley dealer.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So around there is a number of Amish mills or Mennonite. Mm-hmm. I use the term interchangeably. I am no scientist when it comes to the religious beliefs or differences of the Amish and the Mennonite. I should say, or the Mennonite. Mm-hmm. Anyway, you're in, Amish / Mennonite country up there, and these guys have mills galore. It's like Mill City. Mm-hmm.
Is it in the Mill District?
I think, the one guy's mill is in fact, all of the mills are in the Mill District.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. You want to talk about strong dudes? Holy cow, man. So the guys that are working at these mills, this is all they've done their whole lives. Like since they were like little kids, this is now their calling. This is what they're doing with their community. They're working at the sawmill, either milling for their own selves or selling to the English. This is what they do. So these guys are tossing logs all day.
Log tossers.
I'm this caber toss.
Yes.
I swear to God, this is not an exaggeration. These guys had forearms that were like the size of my thighs.
Big.
Like makes Popeye look like a chump.
Wow.
Huge, ridiculously huge forearms that didn't make sense. Like it doesn't make sense that forearms can be that big. They are. So that's the kind of strength that you're thinking about. That's trying to hold down this dude who's, basically trying to attack his wife again.
Right, he's a strong guy. So the prices were good then on that wood.
Oh shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So the Amish couldn't care less about this whatever kind of shutdown or
They're not
flu.
shutting down. Yeah.
They don't
believe in no COVID.
They've been through
Like,
flus.
yeah, okay.
Right.
So as COVID was a flu, they don't give a shit, and they certainly don't give a shit about Governor Tom Wolf.
They're
saying
not shutting
you
down,
got to
yeah.
shut down. No, they're not shutting down.
No.
They got money to make.
Right.
So they're just pumping out the wood, and
They
this
can
is
just
where where my buddy ended up getting all this wood and a shit ton of it
Well, that blackstrap
at an
molasses,
incredible price.
That'll get rid of the COVID blackstrap molasses.
I've heard.
Yeah.
I've heard. Forget any other methods.
Yeah.
Just drink more blackstrap.
It'll take
I don't
care
need
of it.
no shots.
Yeah.
This podcast brought to you by Blackstrap Molasses.
Yeah.
For the finest of molasses, make sure you have blackstrap.
Blackstrap. 1 hour photo. So now where do we leave off? Sorry about that little tangent. I had to talk about the strong dudes in
We
wood.
were talking about tying him down, going to the hospital,
Yep.
and he's
He's now on drugs.
he's on the meds.
He's on scripts. English scripts.
Is that a flashback?
Yes.
Do you remember that, Dave?
What's that?
Flashback.
One. Well, you
1
guys-
hour
We
photo.
did that in a different one.
Yeah, and then I
Okay,
remembered
yeah.
listening back. I'm like, oh shit, I remember that. But during that actual podcast, I didn't remember. It didn't hit me until later.
Yeah.
But I do remember that commercial. Yes.
So now dude's on drugs. And
All drugged up.
to be clear, prescription drugs,
Yes.
not that addictive blackstrap.
Mm-hmm.
And over the next month or so that he's on this, now he's on these drugs for like a month or so, he didn't like the side effects.
Yeah, because I think he was trying to work at the mill. He was getting tired. Like, he wasn't able to think. He couldn't do what he loved most, is
Chopping
his milling.
his fingers off.
Yeah. So he was like, man, I got to take a step back. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, they said his what do you call it? The hallucinations went away.
Yep.
But he was still having anxiety and stuff like that, I guess.
My understanding is that he was basically a zombie.
Yes,
like
that's what they
walking
said. A
around.
lot of
Yeah.
people said he was just standing. You'd have conversation with him. He wouldn't answer you back. He'd just look at you.
Like, what? Oh, yeah.
So maybe he probably wasn't on the right. They just gave him some shit. I don't think they gave him the right dose, but they were trying to make him better, I
Or maybe
guess.
something in conjunction with it, I don't know.
Well, it wasn't like he was drinking while he was on his.
No, I mean
drugs.
something in conjunction, like something to take care of. Like, it's one of those things I think sometimes you get on those pills.
You take one drug, it has
Oh,
a side
you need
effect, so you
another
got to
one.
take another
Yeah.
one.
It's
then
just
you
a
gotta
never
take
ending.
another-
Yeah.
So you do coke, you need to drink, calm yourself down. And
Right.
Yeah.
It's just a
Back
vicious
and
cycle.
forth.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us more about doing coke and needing to drink.
No, I'm just saying you're trying
From what I hear,
you're trying to
Yeah.
balance one out with the other.
from what I hear.
Yeah, from what I hear.
So anyway, yeah, this dude did not like being a walking zombie. So despite all the warnings that, look, man, if you stop taking these drugs, you're going to go into a relapse, man. His wife actually said, no, I support my husband. If he wants to, get off these drugs, I think he's healed. He's fine.
Yeah,
So-
and he was the big talk in the community because I mean it's not a huge community, so
Correct.
everybody was worried about him, their family, making sure Katie was okay. Like, was she able to do what she needed to do? This guy's walking around like a zombie, so everybody's like, what the hell's going on with them? They're
It's
just
one
keeping
big
an eye on him.
that whole community is just one big sewing circle. Everybody knows everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even
That's
without
literally they're just sitting there making some blankets, man.
correct. Oh, I like what you did there. In
Yeah.
fact, so they're all just jaw jacking like a bunch of hens, talking about everybody else's problems but their own.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
Ain't that America?
even without seeing the television commercials for the guy who sold home electronic equipment, they all called this guy Crazy,
Crazy
Eddie.
Eddie.
I mean, yeah. Anyway, not surprisingly, it didn't take him but a few days to relapse. In fact, on numerous occasions, shortly after he'd stopped taking his meds, Katie would find him pulling out his own hair, yelling that his hair was on fire
Oh, shit.
or like his head was on
Oh,
fire.
I didn't read that part. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, so,
I mean, I shouldn't say crazy. That's a bad word to say for somebody who's paranoid, schizophrenic. But the way he is acting to another person, they would think he's crazy.
Yeah.
I would say he's fucking crazy.
That's
Yeah.
what I said. He's crazy.
He's crazy.
I did
But it's
read
not
that,
his fault.
I did read what he said that felt like his brain was on fire or something like that. His head, like brain or whatever. So
That's what thinking does to you.
Yeah.
Man, it's hot in here. Whew, that's what I get for thinking. So, yeah, he stopped taking his meds. His condition continued to deteriorate.
He's just getting worse and worse and worse.
At some point, he claimed he'd heard Satan talking to him, telling him to kill his wife.
Because she's like part of being like the devil. She's bad.
At one point, he rarely slept. He would often, so back to the head, he would often scratch his head until it bled. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to pull your hair out. It's another thing to just scratch your own skin so much that you're bleeding.
Sure they didn't give him meth?
I can't speak to that. I didn't read his script. It could be the residual effects of a bad batch of blackstrap.
That's
what I was going back to. I don't know. Wow.
At one point, this guy threatened suicide. So, again, he's just losing his mind. At one point, he threatened suicide. He broke through his upstairs window, jumped to the ground.
The second story jump.
Jumped to the ground, which was 10 feet off the ground, everyone. Let's be clear.
Yeah, that's what we were talking
it's
about.
Not that bad.
It's not that bad. That's what I said.
I'm 46 years old and I can do that.
Yeah, we could do it.
And I don't exercise.
Right.
But I'm in Amish country. You see Amish dude jumping out a second story window. They're probably
the
like,
time.
oh my God.
Yeah, well, they're up there working and doing
Yeah.
stuff. They're probably no big deal.
I don't need a rope.
They're like,
Yeah.
get down here.
Yeah.
Second story, no problem.
Where's my blackstrap?
Well, they don't have many. I think they're all second story buildings. I don't think they have many.
Ranch.
There's
style.
many that get like higher than that.
Oh, I thought you meant lower. Yeah.
I'm saying they're not like some guy has like, oh, is that a 5-story you're putting up today?
A high rise.
Amos? Like, nah, man, I'm good.
Yeah.
2-story for me.
The wood doesn't allow me to go that high.
Yeah.
I'm not building a Tower of Babel trying to get closer to God.
They're good. They're good with 2. So it happens every day. You need to get out there in the field. You got time to get downstairs. Just jump out a window.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Something's on fire. A horse gets away. You can go after it.
Do the Amish have basements?
I don't
So,
think so, do they?
well, so when Ed Gingerich and his wife Katie were first married, not only did they spend their first night at Katie's
In-laws.
parents' house, they lived in their basement
Oh, there it is.
for a number of months until their house was built.
Until it was built. Okay, so they do. I didn't know if they did basements.
How do you dig
or-
the basement, though? I guess, I mean, use modern machinery, I guess.
Horses, shovels,
Yeah. That's all manpower. Yeah, like you said, like that.
manpower, and horsepower.
Horsepower, yeah.
Like the base, what is it, like 2 shovel lengths down? Like,
I don't even know, man.
I don't know.
It would take a lot.
Probably a root.
But if you got the whole town, I think they all band together.
You're
when
right.
they
Yeah,
do
there's
something.
hundreds of people at
Yeah.
one time
Yeah.
to do a
Enough
house.
people with enough shovels
Yep.
will get it done.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Oh, yeah. So after he jumped out of the second story window and is chasing after his wife, he was taken to good old Doc Terrell's place,
Oh,
where in this case, he had received a massage and a jar of blackstrap molasses.
Again.
Oh, absolutely.
Was this the head massage or just a regular like back, neck?
To my knowledge, it was a massage.
Okay.
It could be a head massage.
Yeah, I was reading, or I might have been watching something. They said the last time he was there, he gave him like a full, like a head massage and then the black strap. Or it could have been just a regular like back massage,
yeah.
another foot pull. Who knows? It depends what you got, what package you bought that day.
Right. You get the happy ending.
The happy ending massage after he ran it through the scanner.
Yeah.
I think Ed's happy ending was anything without kids.
Yeah.
Get
It sounds like he could have got out of this a long time ago. He just would have left.
man.
He just had to go English.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't get there yet, but
Yeah.
probably would have been better for him.
May 5th, 1992. Old Ed wakes up, smashes out another window, and then ran around his house like a madman. Once he had calmed down for a nap, he was hogtied in his sleep and driven to a real hospital.
Okay.
This was not long after his recent visit to Doc Terrell for another batch of
The strappy.
the blackstrap.
Mm-hmm.
Once he gets to the hospital, he wakes up. He trashes the examination room. Tranquilizers are administered, and he says the following to the doctor. This is a direct quote. "I've got a bad case of liver cancer. I saw a light so bright I thought I was in hell. Do you know my brother? Well, my brother blew into Katie's cunt. I saw an angel fly out of her mouth."
What?
I didn't see that part.
I didn't see that
Yeah,
either,
where'd you get that from?
Oh,
That was some
it's
underground info.
I'll happily give out the bibliography on that one.
That sounds like
That's
some
wild.
Exorcist shit.
Yeah, I'm surprised he would know that word.
This
Like,
guy was bananas.
Do they speak that stuff? You know what I mean? Like dirty slang
Well,
stuff?
cunt's like an old English word.
Is it?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, you know what? As years have gone on, and what we determine one thing or another. I mean, as Matt had just aptly pointed out, like over in the old, English proper, that word is commonplace all the time.
Okay.
All the time.
I don't know if it was just like a slang thing, like later.
no, that's an old. That's centuries.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering about like you saying that. I was thinking about that earlier about them with like swear words and different things. Like if that's even in their vocabulary. Like Amish people,
when you're a
they
kid,
walk
like,
around,
sit
what's
around
up, motherfucker? You know what I mean? Like I just can't see.
That's not bad. So, and I have to wonder that too. That's a really apt point. Like what we English as an American or whomever the hell else might deem appropriate grammar and good words versus, let's say, bad words. For them, it's just words, or maybe they don't know what the hell the difference is.
Moksha Fushtin.
I did read that they speak when they're doing transactions with the English. They speak our English or whatever, but they speak amongst each other
in the Dutch, the Pennsylvania Dutch.
And then they speak like three different, basically, like maybe Pennsylvania Dutch and then another one. I don't know. I read something like that.
Jibba jabba.
Yeah.
What's any I think ethnic group that's come over here from from wherever they're from. They come into America. They speak some English. They speak some whatever their language, Spanglish, whatever their language is, and other words that they come up with themselves.
Well, Pennsylvania Dutch is just a mix of English and German, right? Like a hybrid, I guess, or something. Yeah,
a hybrid, like a hybrid creature.
I'm trying to figure out what was going through this guy's mind when he envisioned his brother blowing into his wife's vagina, and then he saw an angel fly out of her mouth.
Right, that is crazy.
It's like a weird horror movie type scene.
That is something, yeah.
Freaky deaky. Anyway, in true English or in true American healthcare system, 10 days later he is released from the mental ward.
They didn't there wasn't enough room. There was more people that were more mental, so they were like, "You got to go."
No room at the inn, like the manger. So
sent him in a manger
that
he built.
10 days later, he goes back home. Everything's all right, or allegedly all right, or purportedly all right. And meanwhile, back at the wood shop, there's old Dave Lindsay, the born-again Christian, still in Crazy Eddie's ear about needing to be born again.
Who's leaving this guy come back into the community hanging out at the wood shop? When they'd be like, get this guy away.
He's got American dollars to spend. He comes, he visit. I mean,
he's like, hey, Ed, what's up? Where you been? I know where you been. I think you need help. If you were just born again.
His community?
Yeah, like, why are you leaving this guy? But
they were scared of
him.
I
think how Zap said, I think he's like a guy, he had money, he was buying what they were selling.
Yep.
He was like, hey, he's a customer. He's just, talking to me. He's a friend. I want to let him back in there, though.
I mean, we're now at the point where, Dave, I think both, Dave and Matt had alluded to earlier. This is now the culmination. We are now at that tipping point. Everything's going to boil over here. Now, just imagine being delusional.
From the beginning, we're done edging now. We're getting into the full explosion.
Yes, we're done with BDSM.
BDSM, yeah.
DD, BDSM.
I don't know. You'll have to remind me of that.
ASMR.
There you go, ASMR. So again, now just imagine being delusional, hallucinating, psychotic.
Losing your freaking mind.
Losing your mind. All at the same time, you're hearing over and over and over again from this born-again Christian guy something about needing to be born again or you will go to hell. So you hear that.
He don't need that right now.
No.
He didn't need that in his life.
He doesn't need to be worried about going to hell. That's just going to stick in his mind the wrong way.
Right.
Anyway, as Ed is talking with this Dave Lindsay cat, ultimately, the discussion of his wife comes into the conversation. Now, understand, Ed's married to her.
This is Katie, correct? Katie, his wife.
So he's married to Katie, who is his wife. They're both in the Amish faith. And according to this Dave Lindsay, who is still in Ed's ear all the time trying to convert him, she's keeping him locked in a faith that will ultimately send him to hell if he doesn't become born again. So in Ed's mind, Katie became the devil.
She the devil.
That is crazy.
And that's all from Lindsay. Just putting it in his ear.
March 18th, 1993. According to reports, he had met with his father earlier that morning. and mentioned that everybody, including God, hated him.
He was very down on himself.
He was for damn sure down on himself. Now, a wedding was to occur that day.
Yep.
One was invited. The whole damn community was invited. Everyone was going to go except Ed.
She didn't want him to go, right?
Who was going to be left behind. That's correct. Not only did she not want him to go, not only did no one else want him to go, because
they didn't know what he would do.
By now,
you don't want to ruin the wedding.
This fringe had established a reputation for himself, but Ed didn't want to go. At least he didn't want to go when he and his wife had talked about this days earlier and up to this point. Like it had been discussed, it's settled. Ed, you're not going. So Ed's brother Dan had been at the house that morning and was one of the handful of people who regularly visited to deal with Ed and his random behaviors. Like by this point, it wasn't just his wife looking after him. Like there was family, friends, whatever that would come in and basically help her out. This is a guy that had to be restrained and held down. Like just in case something's going to go awry, there was typically always someone else there. In this case, brother Dan left to go tend to chores at his place, and he promised he would return later. After a brief nap, Crazy Eddie wakes up, goes into his kitchen. Now his wife is in there doing dishes. She turns around from doing the dishes, and there's Crazy Eddie standing right behind her. Then punches his wife, Katie, in the face and knocks her down. She asks why he hit her. He responds, "I'm the devil.
I'm the devil.
I'm the devil." I think he's got a little identity crisis going on here at this point.
I'd say.
A little bipolar.
And the kids are there too, right?
Yeah, she yelled out for her son. I guess her son and the one daughter were in the room.
Yeah. So at this point, again, they got 2 sons and 1 daughter. Danny's the eldest son. Katie tells the son Danny to run for help. Like, go get help. And he runs to his uncle Dan's house, the guy that had left earlier.
It's like over a mile away.
He runs to his uncle.
So how long did that take a 6-year-old?
So I'm not sure. I've read as little as a half mile.
Yeah, that's what I said. Half mile is what I read.
And I've seen it maybe somewhere close to a mile, but I keep seeing more and more of half mile. Distance doesn't matter because let's not forget, it's March and it's
cold.
It's northwestern Pennsylvania, pretty damn close to the Great Lake.
So this took the boy, let's say
cold.
6 to 10 minutes, maybe something like that.
Running barefoot in the snow.
Oh my gosh.
Well, he's a tough kid.
Yeah.
So he's running barefoot in the snow, and ultimately, as soon as Dan, Uncle Dan, sees little Danny, running in the snow without the shoes, and he says, like, "Hey man, you got to come back to the house. Mom's in trouble."
Yeah.
Uncle Dan drops everything, jumps bareback onto a horse, grabs the kid, and they ride briskly
back to
the house.
So like a 3 to 4 minute
on the horse.
On the horseback.
Yep. And so then there was Enos and Mary, the other 2 kids. They stayed at the house, and they just basically stood there and watched their father continue. So now Dan shows up and finds Ed still beating on Katie. So at this point, she's unconscious, and Ed at this point, hearing Dan is there, and Dan's trying, tell him to stop, trying to get him off her. He stomps her in the face while she was unconscious. Ed and his brother have a scuffle. Dan runs to a neighbor's house to call 911 because at this point you have, again, a guy that's completely unhinged, a guy that it took 7 dudes to restrain him earlier or at some point earlier in his life.
Yeah, the brother walks in, he's kicking his wife in the face.
Dan knows that there's nothing Dan can do to stop Ed.
He's going to need help.
So he calls 911. Now, while Dan is at this neighbor house dialing 911, someone call 911.
Yes.
Ed puts his work boots on and he begins to stomp Katie's head repeatedly.
To the point where her brains start flowing out of her head.
He ended up crushing her skull to the point of her brains coming out onto the floor. So she gone. At this point, he undressed her, grabbed himself a steak knife, cut a 7-inch incision.
It was a paring. He said it was a small knife. It could have been a steak, could have been a paring. Either or.
Yeah. Like kitchen knife or
Kitchen
whatever
knife.
is what they said, I think.
Steak knife you can go with.
Yeah.
Arguably, one could use any knife.
Any
Yeah.
knife. Rock on with the steak.
I'll retract steak and just say knife.
Knife, okay.
Good.
From the kitchen.
Use the kitchen knife.
I want to thank you for that, Matt.
I'm just.
This was a monumental contribution.
I read paring. It was a small. Said it was a small paring knife.
Like a 7-inch or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Attention to detail does matter.
Yeah.
So
Words matter.
for all cutlery fans out there,
Mm-hmm.
we hope that we did you a solid today. Using a knife that he grabbed from the kitchen, he cut a 7-inch incision into her abdomen.
Oh, that's what it was. 7 inches.
7 inches.
That's
7
where I
inches.
got the 7 inches from.
He reaches up inside of her, removes her lungs, kidneys, stomach, liver, spleen, bladder, uterus, and heart.
Jeez.
That's basically all of them.
Yeah,
Everything,
that's
yeah.
everything in there.
That's everything.
That goes like from hunting and stuff. He probably knew how to do that properly.
Yeah, maybe.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Well, he ended up taking all these organs. He stacked all of them next to her body in a pile.
Neatly, yeah, which is off.
Yeah, they did say that neatly. Like, what are they?
I think like he just it
In
wasn't
piles.
like you're just not pulling them out. Like
He
I
had 'em
guess he got
stacked
them
together.
together and just kind of maneuvered them into a little fluffy bundle of
Like,
innards.
It's like organ building blocks.
Mhm.
okay.
It's not just, and that makes sense. It's,
Right.
you're not just a pile of shit like you dumped a basket of organs on the floor.
Mhm.
What do you think of if we were like if you took our organs? I mean, it'd be like something sitting here like that. It wouldn't be. I mean, maybe the large intestine or the small is actually larger than the large. Correct? Yeah, the small intestine might be all run everywhere, but he tried to make a neat pile.
Mm-hmm.
That's from what I read,
Yeah.
which is horrific.
I'm just watching Matt visualizing what's going on in his head as he's thinking what he's describing. Like, all right, man, I could probably figure this out. If I had to Lincoln log my way into building a little structure out of organs, this is how you would do it.
It would get messy, but I think they're just showing how crazy he is.
Yeah.
He actually tried to put them in like a pile, and then I guess he folded her clothes also neatly. Because did
Oh.
you say he stripped her naked?
Yeah,
Did you
he
mention that?
for damn sure stripped her
Yes,
naked.
He stripped her naked, performed his
This thing.
thing.
Removal.
Now,
Yeah,
do you have any?
He ended up placing the knife on top of the pile.
And I don't want to step on anything you're going to talk about
Go,
here.
go.
Was there anything in there about his mindset about putting her back together or something like that?
That comes, I think.
Is that coming
when they question-
later?
Yeah, that comes in later.
Because that's what I was thinking about when you're talking about putting the piles neatly and all that.
I think he said like she wasn't dead yet.
Is that foreshadowing? I don't want to say.
You could be foreshadowing.
Okay, then we'll leave it. We'll leave it
You
at that.
could be, but we'll see where we get.
Okay.
So after the dude washes his hands,
Mhm.
quick little wash of the hands, he throws his Bible into the fireplace.
Damn you,
Yeah.
Bible.
What was the thing with that? You think?
He's the devil now. Look what he did.
Yeah, he's done.
Oh, he's the devil now. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
he don't need a Bible no more. That's not going to save him.
Or he's just forsaking religion like Jesus.
Yeah,
Is this
threw it
what,
away.
you know, is this what this has brought me to?
Mm-hmm.
Is this, look, my state of mind, my everything, my whole world is collapsing.
Could have been a big fuck you to that Lindsay guy too.
Fuck you,
Like,
the Bible.
here's
And,
your
yeah,
yeah.
that's a very good point, man.
Just pow.
That's a very good
Yeah.
point.
Hmm.
Basically, just,
Interesting.
fuck God.
It was a very inner struggle going on with this
Mm.
man.
It was something. Dude throws his Bible into the fireplace, tells the children to put their coats on. His plan was to take them to his father's house.
Yeah,
Leave
it's
them
cold
there,
out, kids. Put a coat on. We're going for a walk.
Take them to old Grampy's house, and then he was going to come back to his house to burn it down. So as he's walking with the kids, the paramedics show up. The 911 call worked. Paramedics ask him where his wife was.
And these were the paramedics that were there the first time. I
So
think
they
when there
were-
was a problem, it was the same
Yeah.
group.
Was it?
Yes.
They were aware of him. Well, one of them they said to go up to the house because
Yeah.
they remember where it was at.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is good news.
Mhm.
Yeah. So this.
If only they would have. If only they had been
Yes. Yes. But yeah, it was the same. It was pretty much the same group. The one guy that was there before, like what was it, a few months before or a year earlier?
Yeah, whatever that timeline
Yeah,
was,
the
he was
timeline
there,
was.
and they were aware of the property and stuff.
yeah.
They said to go up. They sent the one guy up. I had his name here, I think.
According to Chuck D and Flava Flav, 911 is a joke.
Yeah, in that town.
It was Assistant Fire Chief Andrew McLaughlin. He was the one. They said go up and check on the house. You've been
Yes.
there roughly a year earlier. So
A year. Okay.
Yeah.
So the paramedics ask him, "Hey man, where's your wife?" Ed responds, "You wouldn't understand." So Ed just keeps on walking. One paramedic followed Ed, and the other one went to Ed's house.
Yes.
Again, Ed's taking the kids to the old grandpa's So one goes to Ed's house, which he had walked from, and is now on his way to Grandpa's house. So he's being followed by one. The other one goes the other way.
So he said, "You won't understand."
Yep.
Here's something you won't understand.
I can just kill a man.
Yeah, I was wondering, maybe you heard Cypress Hill or something. When he
No, I don't know. I don't miss that one.
Yeah, there was a song like that.
But I think
Basically, there was a line in there.
Do you think it was inspired by this particular murder?
No, I don't know. I'm thinking the other way around. Maybe he heard that song.
I don't think any of that happened. But it was odd that somebody still followed him. Like, I think something must have just looked very off. Like him walking on a march.
That's the thing.
It's cold.
The
kids, you know.
I read two reports. Well, I shouldn't say I read the one report where he had blood in his beard and he had blood on him. I read that, but then I heard somebody else say that they approaching him didn't think anything was up. Oh, everything must be okay.
Yeah, that's
and
what,
there was like almost like a relief.
He's just taking a walk with his kids. This guy didn't just kill somebody.
He's walking with his kids.
Yeah.
Everything must have been okay. It must have been a misunderstanding, not knowing what they're gonna come upon.
So let's the one paramedic, and he's like, I'm gonna roll to the house. You stay here and keep an eye on him, just in case.
In the meantime, a police officer arrived and found Ed, put Ed in the back of the cruiser. So by now, the EMTs, something's awry, alerts the police that once he gets there, like, hey, man, you got to do something with this dude. So the officer puts him in the back of the cruiser, and while the officer is there waiting for backup, he ended up asking Ed to step out of the vehicle and remove his coat and boots. As he's removing his coat, a bloody chunk of flesh fell out of the sleeve of his coat. So at this point, he's okay. Get back in the car.
And they also said his boot, there was pieces of brain that were caught.
Right?
Inside of the boot,
in the tread and stuff.
Yeah, in the tread and stuff. There was pieces of her brain from the smashing.
So by now, I mean, you've got a full-on crime scene investigation going on. Ed's brother gave a statement to the police. Then he went to the wedding reception and he told everyone in the community what had happened.
I also read something. They said when the EMTs, the one got to the scene, the one saw it right away and was trying to put together in his mind like what just happened. And they said one of the ladies came in after and had to run back outside and began throwing up because of just realizing what she just saw.
What the thing was. Did you hear what the dad said at the wedding reception when they
give it to me?
Oh, hold on a sec.
Please share. Sharing is caring.
So when the father learned of the daughter's murder, he walked over like very quietly to the mother and said, we have to leave. Ed's not being nice to Katie. We have to go. That's all he said. They got up and they left.
Like Zap said, they handle their own. It's like,
Left what? The wedding reception?
Yeah, they were at the wedding reception. The father found out, walked over to the mother and was like, Ed's not being nice to Katie. We have to go. But he was aware of what happened, the murder and everything like it. But that's basically how he phrased it. I mean,
it's a very interesting way to sugarcoat the delivery.
Right. I mean, the mother's probably like, well, what's that?
Very
not
simple
a big
people.
Deal. Yeah.
Very simple people.
Right. Sounds like he was calm in it all. I mean, how could you be? But yeah, I thought that was like a weird way to do it or to say it, I should say.
So Matt had mentioned one thing I was going to mention was the quote about that he had said to the interrogators, for some reason, I think we can still save her. Is this the thing you were referring to earlier when you talked about stacking the body parts, like on purpose?
Yeah, he like almost putting her back together. Like I think there was a comment made about like you start at the head when you build somebody or whatever. Almost he looked at her like a project, like I'm going to rebuild her, take her apart and rebuild her again.
Maybe like get the devil out.
Yeah,
and he was like, we can still save her. I think she's still okay.
But
because we have everything. Together. Yeah.
But the one detective was like, yeah, I saw her. She cannot be saved. Like this is
all of her organs are on the floor, dude. She's not going to be saved.
Right.
So ultimately, old Ed Gingerich was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter, but mentally ill.
No shit.
Like our other Ed, right? Ed.
Yeah.
That's
Gein.
right.
Yeah.
Just like
Gein.
Ed Gein. Just like Ed Gein.
Yes.
So this cat here was sentenced to a minimum of 2.5 years in prison, maximum of 5 years. That blows my mind.
It is crazy to think that.
But he was crazy. He was mentally ill.
For damn sure.
So they can't say, I mean, the guy didn't intend to, I mean, he was talking about getting the devil out and putting her back together after he pulled her apart. Like the guy's like out there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it does make sense. And then again.
But how could you
maybe no sense at all.
You got to think about it too. Like, how can you have it together enough to just pick your kids up, put your coats on? Hey, we're going to, you know what I mean? Like one minute you're doing what he was doing.
We're going to Grandpa's house.
And then the next minute
I'm going to come back and burn my house down.
I think that's part of the mental illness.
Right. Yeah, I get it. But I'm just thinking, like, if you're in that, I'm killing like everything around me, you know, how do you turn it off with the kids? But like you said, if he's looking at the wife as the devil, or himself as I don't know,
or the cause of all of his frustration.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely had mental illness. We know that. I mean,
for damn sure.
And it was documented. He went to a doctor, you know, a real doctor.
Yeah, they even tried to give him drugs. The drugs weren't. Well, I mean, this guy's life too. When you're mentally ill, like everything, like he was trying to get away, but then he couldn't get away, and then he's still in that life, and then he's trying to go to like these like snake oil salesmen. Zap was saying he's trying to take drugs that the English gave him. Nothing's working. He can't work anymore because he's on these drugs, and the guy was mentally ill. That's why they gave him the sentence they gave him, I think.
While in prison, he was denied his first bid for parole in December 1995, and true to the maximum of 5 years. So the murder happened on March 18th, 1993. He was released from the State Correctional Institution in Mercer County, Pennsylvania on March 19th, 1998 at the age of 34.
All right, yeah, he served the 5.
Alas, this sad story comes to an even sadder end. On January 14th, 2011, Gingerich was found hanged in a barn in Cambridge Springs, Pennsylvania, where he had been living with his attorney. Near him was an upside-down bucket where he had written, "Forgive me, please," in the dust.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, this whole time, he remained depressed and on medication. He had been completely shunned from his community. Now, can you wrap your head around that? Like these guys, the Amish, their whole world is their community. When you're shunned, you are alone.
You're on your own, yeah.
100% on your own. You're out. You're off the island. It's done. You're no longer a part of this.
When you're saying that, though, it was funny that, I don't know if you're going to be mentioning this, but in death, that's when actually they brought him back in.
They buried him next to
they brought him back into the community after his death. They forgave him.
That's interesting.
Because of his "forgive me, please." They said, well, look, he
did say please.
But I guess he gave his life then, and they were like, oh, he's even Stevens.
Yeah. So that's interesting, and I want to come back to that. I definitely want to come back to that because one of my closing points was, at the time of his sentencing, so again, murder in 93, March of 93, at the time of his sentencing, the local Amish bishop, this is Katie's uncle, had written a petition, and this is, I quote, "We like Ed Gingerich, but absolutely don't trust him and are seriously afraid of him because of what he did. We want him to stay in the mental ward for good." Now, this petition included 60 signatures on it of all the locals, including Ed's own father.
Oh, so they even knew, yeah.
I mean, again, everybody had seen this guy deteriorate and just be this wild, crazy, unbelievable human being rolling around like a madman in this community. I'm really curious now. I didn't see that, Matt. That's a real interesting fun fact.
Yeah, by like giving his life for the life he took, they
did bury him.
They buried him next to his wife and brought him back into the community. Which
there was also some stuff when he got released from prison, like you said, he was shunned, that he moved to like Ohio or another state and within another Amish community. And he was doing back to his stuff, off the meds, doing weird stuff. And then
they kicked him out of there too?
They booted him from there.
Damn.
He came back.
Oh, you're going to say about his daughter. We didn't mention that.
Well, he came back, and his brothers actually got shunned because they took him in. And they were like, look, if you take him in, you're out of the community. They were like, okay.
Yeah, you're basically aiding and abetting.
Right. Yeah. So he lived with them.
With the two wacko.
Right. He lived with the two brothers. And then he was like, I want to see my daughter. Like, I really want to see my daughter. They ended up kidnapping her, bringing her to a cabin here in central PA somewhere. Yeah. They didn't say exactly where. Locked them two in a cabin together.
This
like
is
3 to 5 days.
Yeah. And like basically was trying to, hey, look, I want to see you. I want to be in your life and this and that.
Yeah, he wanted to let her know that he loved her and like, he's sorry about what happened. But I mean, totally off his rocker at this time. But and then the police came and got him again.
Yeah, at that point, the bishop, I think, had called the police and were like, "Hey, this is what's going on." Word got around. They came to the cabin, got her free, got her out of there. He wasn't harming her or anything, I guess.
No,
Just
he was
holding
with
her
his
captive,
brothers. Yeah,
though,
he just wanted to. I don't even know what kidnapping, I guess, was the charge.
Right, and he did a little more time. Like I think it was minimal, maybe a few months. I forget what exactly it was, but yeah. So there was that, and then the brothers, the Amish community they were in, were like, look, if you stop living with him and let him live with you, we'll take you back. So that's when the lawyer actually took his lawyer is actually where he was living.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's where he was. That's how he ended up there then. But yeah, he did kind of bounce around. And
I think that's why, like, he took his life, because nothing that I try or do nothing's going to bring anything back to normal. And I guess that's where he was like, I can't.
This guy didn't know what the fuck normal was, though.
No. And he was on the meds then when he was living with the lawyer, and he was helping him on the farm, doing stuff at this lawyer's property. But it just, obviously he was still depressed, I'm sure, and everything. If he's medicated and now he's starting to come back to, some sort of normalcy, it probably set in everything that happened. And that's, like Matt said, maybe like even Stevens, I'll take my life just to,
so
I don't know.
If you get 5 years of lockup for whatever this was, for this, he was...
For a gruesome murder.
Yeah. But I'm trying to look back at what the actual sentence was.
It's 5 years. You said something to 5.
Involuntary manslaughter, but mentally ill.
Mm-hmm.
So I would imagine in, let's say, regular everyday America, let's pretend that happens. When you come out of that, I've got to believe that you're going to be stuck on some kind of regimen of, and this is like by court order,
like parole or something.
Correct, parole. Take these drugs. You
mean you got the thing on your ankle?
Yeah, maybe be in a mental, facility with Michael Myers for X number of years until you figure things out, or until everything calms down, or something. But in this case, it was like, all right, peace out.
You got
kind of like
monitoring
what happened to Sling Blade.
Yeah. I think that I think maybe, don't quote me on this, but something with that Amish community that he was shipped off to.
The podcast itself will quote you on it.
Quote you on, I know, right? There was some stipulation that moving out there, they would watch him and take care of him and all that stuff. It was like almost kind of like it's out of our hands now, not our problem. But you're right. You would think there would have been a legal,
right?
Because you're a criminal.
How was he tried? Was he tried with a jury? Was it just a judge giving the sentence? Like, that could be a thing too. Maybe the judge was a local from the area, knew the family, knew they were hardworking people, and said, look, we know he's mentally ill. We know the community can take care of him eventually. We'll keep him on medication. We'll give him 2 to 5 years to get counseling, all this other stuff. Maybe they thought he'd be okay.
Yeah.
This is the first time we had the crossover of, the Amish into the English world.
Well, not much of it happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's, how do you make that happen? How do you...
But it happened because the guy was mentally ill.
So how do you tie the two? How do you tie the two together with when you have the stuff after, let's say, after the 5 year? Yeah. How do you do it? Well, do you release him on his own accord, which they did? Do you release him back to the community? Okay, he's your problem. Or do you keep him in American law, in the system?
Right.
I guess
you're saying, the separation.
They went with option
there.
1 and 2.
The separation is there. Like they usually, what we said, keep to their own. So they were like, hey, if you want him, I don't know for a fact, but it sounds like if you want him, if your community can handle him, if you're inviting him back in, then
there you go.
Have at it.
Yeah, take it.
But that's a crime too. The crime he committed is he was mentally ill. Was that a crime of passion? Because there's people that end up shooting their significant other or whoever, and they end up in like 3 to 5 years in jail because of crime of passion or.
I've heard about this.
Yeah.
So this is saying like you come home, you find your old lady
in bed with a dude,
in bed with some other dude,
right?
Yeah,
and then you shoot the guy, but you get a lesser sentence.
Yes, you're not, in most cases.
Crime of passion, like you said, I've heard of that.
Something where you just flip.
This is good to know.
Yep. Yeah.
Light switch, man.
You can get away with it then.
Yeah, because at that moment you were not thinking with the proper mindset. There's stuff like that happens all the time. People get maybe 2 years for some.
Where they would normally get
much
longer
life in prison.
Yeah.
Poor Ed, like a drifter. He was born to walk alone.
Yeah. But that was a good one, man. You guys got any other closing thoughts or anything we missed?
No, I found this one was interesting for me. Like you guys were saying, we brought the Amish into the English. This guy really wasn't what we usually do here. He's not like a crazy sicko that enjoys stuff like this. It was something that happened. He was paranoid, schizophrenic, mentally ill, and just interesting to see what he did and the way that he was treated afterwards, like we talked about just now. And no, just thought it was a good story to learn about, to read. especially about the Amish.
I mean, for damn sure, this was, something special for us just because, we grew up seeing the Amish all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
We don't think of the crossover when things go awry. And so with this being the first one of those, certainly, it's intriguing to say the least. This could have been anybody. I mean, anybody. Part of me wonders, just a small part wonders, and was this condition possibly related to maybe breeding a little too close within the community?
Yeah, inbreeding and stuff.
Maybe.
Could be.
Who's to say? That's wild speculation.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild speculation.
Or the religion bringing in the devil and stuff, like the two polar opposites of good and evil, God, devil.
Mm-hmm.
Like that pushed on you your whole life. That can mean a lot too in a community like that.
So one of the things that I took away from this is that thinking about mental illness in these societies that are kind of closed off from everything else is like over the years, there had to have been other cases like this where somebody has mental illness, and do they look at them as like being possessed or like basically like what, initially they were thinking before modern medicine and stuff like that? Are these the type of people that would just end up getting killed or burned at the stake?
Yeah, I think
like
these
that.
are the people that the community gets together and they all dig one of those holes again, like when they're doing a basement, except they just kill the guy and throw the body.
Just
in
get rid of him. He's a problem
man,
or whatever.
This guy's a menace.
Yeah, you
Get
hear
rid of him.
the bell ringing. There's a hanging at noon.
Right. And it's just they just get rid of the problem before. So
Yes.
it just made me think about that, where I mean this is close enough to like our time now where they kind of know and can, modern medicine can figure out what's going on with people and stuff like that.
I mean, that's not so far off. So think of like the Salem witch trials, right? So they hung all these broads because they were accused and whatever found
Of
guilty.
witchcraft,
Witchcraft. This guy is claiming to be the devil himself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was due for a hanging eventually.
Right.
Which witchcraft back then was like being able to read as a woman.
Right.
Indeed.
There was a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like what she just read that? Devil.
Wait a second. You boiled water? How did you do that?
Right. But yeah, it just made me think about that and like how many times this probably happened over the years. And, this is just closer to our current time. So, but yeah, it was a sad story. Crazy.
Indeed. Sad.
So I guess we'll be back next. You guys have anything else?
No. Just different story for us here. Hope that everybody enjoyed it. Maybe look it up, check out the internet.
Yeah, again, check out that documentary on investigative discovery. It's called Deadly Devotion. So it's pretty cool to watch. If you dug this story, it's basically this story again, but with pictures and stuff.
Also ASMR on YouTube.
Yeah, do
on
that.
Ed Gingerich. Go ahead and check that out.
Yeah, you can check that out. The other one I wouldn't check out unless, something like bad might come up on your phone or whatever. But yeah. But thanks to Zap for writing up all that stuff and researching it.
Good job, Zach.
I don't know.
Hey, thanks to both of you for helping me along. I couldn't do it without you.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
I don't know what we'll be doing next week. Another true crime or compelling story. We'll hit you with something good. We'll have Spaceballs coming up this week for the movie review. Don't forget to check that out on Thursdays on Vintage Cinema Review. Find us on Facebook and Instagram at Old Dirty Basement, on TikTok at Old Dirty Basement Podcast. Check out our merch store in the description of the show down at the bottom. It's a clickable link. Click on there. Go over and get yourself some Old Dirty Basement sweatshirts, T-shirts, all that cool stuff. And I guess that's it for now. So we'll catch you where?
On the flip side.
If we don't see you sooner, we'll see you later.
Peace. Thanks for hanging out in the Old Dirty Basement. If you dig our theme music like we do, check out the Tsunami Experiment. Find them on Facebook. Their music is available streaming on Spotify and Apple, and where great music is available.
You can find us at Old Dirty Basement on Facebook and Instagram, and at Old Dirty Basement Podcast on TikTok.
Peace.
We Audi 5000.